Welcome to the Blood Angels Commander channel.
Greetings, brothers. Good evening. How is everybody? Hope you can hear me okay. Please give me a shout in the chat if you can hear me okay. Let me get the chat up on the screen. Nice. How's everybody this evening? I finally played a game of Nephilim, so I guess I can finally feel like I can talk a little bit about things Nephilim based. Hello, DTM. John, what's happening? Andy, nice to see you. Gitley, how was your event at Element Games? Did you win? How'd you get on? Foz, good evening. Mike says, what's up? The temperature, that's very true. Evening Daga, evening Ivan, Miguel, Charles, lots of people here tonight, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you guys come and hang out week on week. At some point, tonight's video is worthwhile to you. Hit that like button as well. It just helps me out with the inevitable YouTube algorithm. So I know that you guys enjoy the show. Please hit the like button. Thought your game was brilliant. You're talking about the game on Wednesday night against Chaos. Gitley, you went 5-0. Brilliant, Gitley. That was with Blood Angels, right? Like, what's your list? What was the list? Have you submitted it to me recently? I think I saw you posted it in Discord. But I haven't actually looked at it. Do you know what? I've been struggling a little bit with Discord this last week or so. I don't know why. I've just been very tired all week. I guess having two very young kids will do that to you. Good evening, Scoops. Steve, hello. Yeah, I really enjoyed the game against Brett, and it was good to finally play a game of Nephilim. I think this week I'm going to run Dante. I really don't want to run him. I really don't. But Mike has said that he's going to become a Patreon if I run Dante. So it's like bribery to the max. Put it in a YouTube comment at one point. Yeah, exactly, Mike. I'm going to run Dante because of you. And I don't want to run him. I mean, I ran Master of the Codex for the first time this week. And the guys that watched the Wednesday night game will know that when I ran Master of the Codex, my Chapter Master got me yet 5 extra CP from that. So, I mean, I don't know how you can... Master of the Codex can be good, I guess. Swingy, but good. 5 CP was pretty useful. I actually finished that game with like more CP than I needed to. Way more CP than I needed to. Alright, good evening, Dirty Wizard. Let's get into some lists. In the way that we're doing the show at the moment is we're not scoring individual lists. We're making comments on individual lists. And we're looking through more lists than we would normally get through. Because when we used to run the show more recently, we were doing like 3 lists. So now we're doing like 5 or 6. We're getting through more lists. We're just trying to get a big picture of what's happening for Blood Angels. My Chapter Master was reading the book like a pro. He was, yeah. I mean, we know that Chapter Master's boss anyway. So, how's my weekend been? I was so hungover this morning. But yeah, I've been good. I could have streamed last night, but honestly, it would have been a disaster. I had a few people over for a barbecue, and yeah, I'm not very good at... I either go like 1 or 2 drinks and then stop, or I go 1 or 2 drinks and then all the drinks, and that's what happened last night. We went all for all the drinks. Okay, let's have a look at Kevin Kiefer's list. This first one on the list today. For this list, secondaries he's thinking is banners or retrieve Nachman data. My thought is only ever take banners if it's a 6 objective map. I mean, sometimes you could do it in a 5 objective map, but I feel more confident doing it at 6. Second would be shock tactics or relentless assault. I've yet to try shock tactics. The thing about relentless assault, sometimes it could be worth just switching out for behind enemy lines. And the last would be Blade of Sanguinius. Again, I've yet to do Blade of Sanguinius myself. He's going to say Mephiston is the one to kill the enemy character. I'm not sure I love that either, because Mephiston's damage output is very swingy. Because his sword is D3, and also he's got no way to reroll his wounds or hits. I always seem to roll above average on hits and wounds on Mephisto, and I always seem to get a bunch of 1s when I fight with him. The amount of jump infantry I have shouldn't be too hard to shock tactics. Banners and retrieving that mandate would be easy with the number of Phobos units that I have, plus infantry that could just take each corner. I added Eradicators because I feel I need something to soften up tough targets, and the Whirlwind to use a strat with. I start with plenty of CP, so it shouldn't be an issue. Alright, so we are starting with 6 CP here. Cool. Okay. Gonna make the best of the weather? Yeah, absolutely. Summer only comes in Scotland for a few weeks, so we got Dante and we got as the Warlord, so we're getting back 1 CP, and we've got Mephiston with Unleash Rage, Shield, and Wings. I think this is an okay choice. Shield, I guess we'll see what he's got worthwhile shielding, but I've been running Blood Boil. I've been kind of unlucky recently with it, but I think Blood Boil is good because, and it was oh, it was Sam Procopio that said it's good to have like a targeted damage output spell, because if, like, for example, if your Sanguinary Guard are ever in combat or whatnot with like just one guy, being able to break them out of combat with something like Blood Boil or Smite can actually be really valuable. Get at least 10-0 in his last 10 tournament games. Yeah, send me your list, Gitley. We'll put it on the show for next week. That would be good. Steve maxed out Relentless Assault. Yeah, I mean, you can max out Relentless Assault, or if you think of it this way, behind enemy lines, you do 3 turns of 2 units and 1 turn of 1 unit. That's 14 points, 14 out of 15. It's not bad, right? Slightly warmer than usual in Ireland. It's very warm actually today here in Scotland. So it's nice. It's nice to. I'm not even wearing socks. In my old house, I used to have to wear gloves. I still have my gloves on my desk. You don't believe me? My fingers gloves. I just don't have to wear them in the new house anymore. I'll need to pack them away at some point. All right, Assault Intercessors and 2 Incursor Squads is literally what every single competitive Blood Angels list runs for troops, or at least like 90% of them. So that's fine. Death Company with 5 hammers. I think you can do 4 hammers if you want to keep the points cost down, but 5 is good as well. Literally, they'll kill anything that you charge them into with some re-rolls. And, I mean, you've got Unleash Rage for the Death Company as well, which is actually really, really good. I rate Unleash Rage really highly. You've got the Ancient with Rites of War and the Wrath of Baal, which is also really good. Good to give them +1 to hit, and also Wrath of Baal for the additional movement, and Rites of War for Obsec Swinging. 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard, swords, 1 fist, and an axe. All bolt guns. I mean, I like having some infernal pistols, but I'm okay with all bolt guns. I'm also really okay with heavy lean towards swords. The power fist is a strange one to me. I think I would rather just those were 1 infernal pistol in each squad. But I mean, I guess if you've got orcs in your meta and you run into Ramshackle or something of that nature, power fist could maybe be useful. You got the Vanguard Veterans with double Lightning Claws and 3 Thunderhammers. It's good to have more 3 damage weapons mixed in there. Vanguard Veterans, for me, are a strange one now in that they've lost into Armor of Contempt enemies. They're really not that strong. So I've recently dropped my Vanguard Veterans for a 3rd squad of Sanguinary Guard. I've only played once since I did that, but I did run Vanguard Veterans at the tournament, and at the tournament I was at, I played Death Guard and Space Wolves, and my Vanguard Veterans felt pretty weak. What's my 3rd game? Oh, Tyranids, yeah. I mean, Vanguard Veterans, I guess, fine into Tyranids, but like, not so good into Armor of Contempt enemies. Armor of Contempt is a strange one, in that, like, it's changed a lot of people's thinking, or using, or however you want to say it. Like, it definitely has to be on your radar, because like, when you used to charge enemies with chainswords and they were -1, or like power armor enemies, and you didn't do very much damage, then that's essentially where Lightning Claws are now, into power armor, which is, it feels bad for the amount of points you spend on them. 5 hammers is the best number of hammers in a 5-man squad. I mean, sure, but I think, Gitley, and I could be wrong here, if you have Chapter Master rerolls, if you have +1 to hit from the Sanguinary Ancient, and you have Unleash Rage, you're going to get 20 hammer hits, right? You're hitting on 3s, so it's like 66% chance, but you're re-rolling everything, so you actually are on an 88% chance. So out of your like 20 dice, you should make like 18 hits. And then how many 6s do you roll in those 20 dice? So you kind of Unleash Rage, and assuming you, I guess 5 hammers here. I assuming you're going to pay 2 CP for Assault Doctrine for turn 1 for this Death Company if you do the pre-game move. Because I think it's important to have the Death Company Assault Doctrine. Yeah, I think that's really important. So assuming that you do that and you did have 6 CP, I think 4 hammers is totally fine. 5 hammers is probably going to overkill most things. Unless Mortarion or something nuts like that. Take Astaroth and get them hitting on 2s. You know, there's a big debate about Astaroth and Mephiston now, in terms of like who actually brings more reliability and more damage. And if in turn 1 you 100% want to buff your Death Company, I think like Mephiston can buff them from 12 inches away. You can probably stay out with enemy deny range, and he can have like a 90% chance of casting, whereas like your litany for Astaroth is a 66% chance, unless you're going to spend 2 CP on that. But I don't think you can spend 2 CP on that, and 2 CP on Assault Doctrine, and 1 CP on Forlorn Fury. That feels like too much. I think you can spend 3 on the Death Company maybe at the start. But Astaroth can be a voller. Yeah, I mean it just depends on what you feel like is more reliable. I think both. I think Mephiston. I'm glad Astaroth came down 10 points. I still prefer Mephiston. Quake Bolts on Eliminators is probably the best for the +1 to hit. Yeah, I mean that or a Tech Marine, because the Primaris Tech Marine is actually really good for Quake Bolts as well, because he's got that Ballistic Skill 2 and he's got like a 6-inch move and his gun's Assault. So if you really need to advance and shoot it, you could do that as well. I got a 10-man Death Company unit with a 4++ into 2 squads of Lich Guard yesterday. 4 survived and wiped both of them. I mean, yes. I mean, it really depends. You guys have to decide. Like, we could debate Mephiston versus Astaroth all day. I prefer Mephiston. A lot of people prefer Astaroth. Are you trying to get denies into your list these days? I'm seeing way more Warp Ritual, Psychic Interrogation armies these days. I like the denies or the potential denies. Because the way I see it is like, typically denies aren't reliable because, you know, like, let's say the enemy casts a power on a 9, right? I'm never going to deny it. Like, I almost might not even try and deny it because the chances are so low. And you kind of, Mephiston gives you those 2 denies. I guess the question is, sometimes if the enemy does Psychic Interrogation, right? And they get it off on like a 4 or something, you're like, hell yeah, I'll deny it, right? And sometimes that can be pretty huge. So I guess think of it as you would. We have a squad of Eradicators with Melta Rifles and the Sergeant with Multi-Melta, and then we have the Whirlwind. So my experience of running something similar to this, I'm trying to think what I ran. I ran Death Company, I ran 2 Sangre Guard, I ran Vanguard Veterans. That was it. I ran a squad of Terminators, I ran Eradicators. Do you know what? I basically ran the exact same list at an RTT, except rather than Dante, I ran my Chapter Master with all the buffs that make him like a tanky character. So after playing the RTT, I didn't like this list. I don't think 1 squad of Eradicators alone is enough fire support for the current meta. Like, I think there's a lot of things that can counter us in melee. Yes, Angry Guard are stronger, and yes, I suppose yeah, I was gonna say, and yes, I suppose that like a lot of people are leaning really heavily into Blood Angels jump pack units. But my problem with this list was like, it's very terrain dependent, and if you get good terrain, sure, you could do fine. But the table I played the final game on at that tournament had really light terrain in the middle of the map, and it really punished me because 3 Eradicators alone, they don't have that long range. You need them to be in cover if you want them to have any chance of surviving, and if the enemy has any sort of like 3 damage long range weapons, then they can actually get picked off pretty quickly. I rarely find transhuman is worth it on 3 Eradicators, so I think I'm leaning away from this, and I'm also leaning away from Vanguard Veterans. I think if you look at recent tournament results, like a lot of Marine armies are finishing much higher, which means there's going to be Marines in the meta. I think I saw a YouTube video that showed like 12 GTs or something since Nephilim, and like 7 of them were won by people with power armor. I mean, it wasn't like 7 Blood Angels, but it was like, like a Space Wolf and like a couple Iron Hands and this, that, and whatever. So I think you're going to see a lot more power armor. So I don't like Vanguard veterans all that much into stuff that's got power armor. I mean, I do like 3 Squads of Sangreal. I do like the Death Company. I do like the Ancient. With the CP changes, I guess if you're running Dante, this is okay. If you weren't going to run Dante, I think you would struggle to have enough CP to spend, because you really need the Death Company to be in Assault Doctrine and get Forlorn Fury off as well. And then 1 squad of Eradicators on their own, even with rerolls, I just don't really see them being all that effective. I'm trying to think, like, I used to run attack bikes. Even at 180 points, I felt like attack bikes were a lot better. And I think the reason the attack bikes are a lot better is it's very easy with attack bikes to get them into half range, right? Because they move 14 inches. So it's very easy to get within half range with an attack bike and be like, all these meltas are d6 plus 2 as opposed to just d6. I guess that's maybe why some people run heavy melta rifle eradicators, but my experience with heavy melta rifle eradicators is they just feel so slow. John says having no presence in psychic fails unless you have a gimmicky puts you at a disadvantage. Sometimes it doesn't fail, right? Because sometimes if you have no psychic, then that opens up. At least you can take Deny the Witch, right? Is that the name of the secondary? The one where you just get points for killing psychic. So sometimes having no psychic can be fine. Like I think possibly the bigger concern is having ways to negate mortal wounds. Like, I think that's possibly more important than having psychic. But sometimes those shrugs on mortal wounds, they can be swingy as well, right? You could take an assault squad and a land speeder for the cost of the Vanguard veterans now. I'd probably do that, because I don't think that Vanguard veteran unit do a ton of damage anymore. And if you want to have some just reliable scoring in this list, then I could do that. Dirty Wizards using 3 squads of Eliminators with Las Fusils. The Sergeant for Quake Bolts, and then get 8 Las Fusil shots. Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of cheap for 8 Las Fusils. I mean, like, a Las Fusil is essentially a Thunderhammer, right? It's a 36-inch Thunderhammer. So having 8 of them every turn for 225 points, it's actually pretty cheap. You're going to make me want to buy more Las Fusils now, Dirty Wizard. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Sounds better than Eradicators as well, because the Eliminators can be pretty darn survivable in cover with their camo cloaks, right? Yeah, sorry, I mean Abhor the Witch. I don't pick that all that often myself, because I usually end up running a Psyker. I've run a Psyker. I think I've ran a Psyker this entire edition, actually, because I ran the Librarian with a jump pack for a long time when I used to run Null Zone, and then I moved to Mephiston. But yeah, I don't think having a Librarian is totally necessary. Alright, that's list number 1 for Kevin. Kevin, you probably want to just watch the masterclass video I did a few weeks back. It's basically the same list. And I feel like the Vanguard veterans aren't that great. The Eradicators aren't that great. That's like 350 points. I think you'd be better off adding some more serious fire support. It's weird. I seem to always go hot and cold on Eradicators. I mean, they have a decent amount of... maybe with Eradicators, it's just like you need 2 squads. Like, maybe it's one of those things like Dreadnoughts, where like, when you have a single Dreadnought, you don't think it's that strong, but when you have 2 of them, you're like, yeah, I'm feeling good, right? Maybe that's my problem. Like, everybody's been looking at Sangreal as so strong, But obviously, Eradicators are stronger now, and I have had some games where they feel really strong as well because of their Armor of Contempt, and if you get them in cover. But maybe just one squad isn't enough. Okay. Yeah, a Lasfusel is a 36-inch Thunderhammer. It's very true. If you can link me Jack's list, we can have a look at it for sure, Ezio. Probably not tonight, but I could do another video on it. In general, you want to design lists with 3 secondaries in mind, so losing the ability to pivot to abhor shouldn't be the biggest issue. Yeah, no, I don't think it is a huge issue if you can't pick Abhor the Witch. I think it can be kind of cutesy to deny a psychic interrogation, but my thought is if the enemy has ways of denying stuff, you just shouldn't pick psychic interrogation. But like some people will pick it into you, and then you'll get easy. You can potentially get some easy denies and take away some of their points. Okay, Carter, and Carter just became a patron this week, so Carter, thank you so much for that. It is super appreciated. All right, he's going to choose Dante because it gives him a CP back. He's obviously has the built-in deathmatch, so yeah, we know that it's -1 to hit. And it gives me opportunity to use Angel Sacrificer only in death for free. Sure, Dante's going to die, but he's going out like the absolute legend he is, and he's taking with him or saving a Sangre Guard in the unit. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm fine with that in principle. The Chaplain on the bike is given MOS to rotate Master of Sanctity, and he's also given Benediction of Fury to boost his damage output, and given Imperium Sword to make him that much more saucy. I've never had good experiences with Benediction of Fury. I just don't know if you get enough attacks to make, like, the exciting part of it is, like, to get 6s on wounds, you do, like, 1 mortal wound, but, like, the guy only gets, like, 6 attacks or something on the charge. I prefer giving him Armor Indomitus and making it, like, just an absolute nightmare for the enemy to kill him, but, I mean, that's each to your own. I guess you've given him Imperium Sword to try and get an extra attack and etc., extra strength. Mephiston, I don't care how swingy his damage can be. He's the Lord of Death, not to mention he does have a 10 strength output and a potential max of 10 attacks, average 2 damage attack. What's that, like 20 wounds? So an entire man squad just erased from existence if everything lines up. I've done that. I've done that on stream actually. I've wiped a 10-man squad in a single turn with Mephiston. So yes, he is swingy, but it can happen. What do you need to line up right? 2s for your reroll. If 1s... Yeah, you have to give him Chapter Master rerolls if you want him to reroll 1s. Like, he doesn't get the aura from Dante. But I mean, I guess if you're prepared that Mephiston will roll some 1s on his hits, which always seems to happen with me. You guys know how I feel about Mephiston. I think Unleash Rage is one of the best things that we've got. Unleash Rage is like literally the only thing that we've got that can give a unit more damage output. You know, like if you think of like a Sangre Guard unit, if you had like 5 guys, you've got 5 attacks per guy, and they do 2 damage in attack, so you literally know the maximum damage that unit could ever do is 50. Well, we have no other ability. Someone correct me if I'm in chat if I'm wrong, but we have no other ability in the game that can potentially make that unit do more damage than Unleash Rage, right? And I guess that's why I rate Unleash Rage so highly. If there's an ability that I'm missing or something, maybe it's worth. Maybe I would run it. Yeah, I mean, maybe I need to get 2 more squads of Eliminators. It's almost payday. Maybe I could get a couple more squads of Eliminators. Alright, we've got Agents of the Imperium. We've got 6, so we're getting our easy Retrieve Nakman data. We've got Mephiston with Quickening, Unleash Rage, and Wings. This is a build that we used to see a lot. I really don't think Quickening is a great spell on Mephiston, but it means it's just because of the amount of 1s I roll. I guess if you think you can make it work, then cool. Dante is the Warlord, so we're going to get 1 CP back, so we can start with 5. And then the Smash Captain or the Smash Chaplain with Benediction of Fury, Master of Sanctity, Imperium Sword. Okay, so he's just a Smash Chaplain. We then have Assault Intercessors and Incursors ×2. Again, super standard. Death Company with 4 hammers and a power sword, so I mean I like it. I like the power sword pickup as well. I think it's decent. I think the chain swords are lackluster into Armor of Contempt, and like I said already, you're going to see a lot of Armor of Contempt armies running around. We get 2 Redemptors, Frag Storms, Rocket Pods, Macroplasmas, and Onslaughts. It's so minor, but just ditch the Frag Storms for Storm Bolters. Think of it this way, right? Redemptors are going to get close to the enemy, and when they get close, they're going to get a guaranteed 8 shots from the Stormbolters. Stormbolters can be shot in combat, Frag Storms can't because they're blast. So most of the time, your Frag Storms are going to get similar, equal number of shots. Maybe, and Frag Storms have less range as well, right? 18 inches. So on the very, very occasionally, your Frag Storm will get a couple of extra shots. But if you're ever in combat, you can't shoot them. So I think you're just better having the 2 Stormbolters on the Redemptors for sure. We then have like 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard, and they're just all swords. No fancy upgrades, just 7 guys each with swords. One thing that I just did in my list, and I don't know, I've only played one game, Chris, with this. I just dropped 1 Sanguinary Guard out of a squad like this, because then with the points changes, that literally gives me 6 Infernal Pistols. So I'll put 2 Infernal Pistols, 2 Infernal Pistols, 2 Infernal Pistols. I feel like when you have that many Infernal Pistols across all your Sanguinary Guard squads, like I was trying to debate on like, because normally before that I was running like 1 Infernal Pistol per squad, right? And what would happen is you get 1 shot, you 1 wound, and then they make a save on it. So like by running 2 in each, I feel like I was increasing my chances. Oh, sure, Might of Heroes boosts 1 model. So sure, Might of Heroes is the one other ability that can give you 1 extra attack. Whereas, I mean, I had Unleash Rage on a 7-man Sanguinary Guard get 13 extra attacks. Like, it was crazy. Like, would I run Inceptors with a points reduction? What points reduction did Inceptors get, Toby? I don't think they got a point reduction. I must have missed that. Okay, so 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard, a squad of Death Company, 2 Redemptors. I mean, your elite choices are stacked as Blood Angels, but all 4 of these elite choices are good choices. The Assault Intercessors and Cursors are fine as well. The 3 very combat-y characters, and then the Voidsman, and starting on 5 CP. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like in this list. Maybe a slight lack of like 3 damage or more weapons. I guess you would have Mephiston, you'd have Dante, you'd have this Chapter Master that gives you 4 more power fists. You know what? With a couple of Dreadnoughts, maybe not. Yeah, I mean, I think you can play Blood Angels without the Fight Last the Whirlwind. I maybe over rely on that to get me points and get me to make my backfield super safe. But yeah, I mean, it seems like 3 Sanguinary Guard is what everybody's looking at. Double Redemptor always has been strong. It's strong again because of Armor of Contempt. Death Company with Hammers is strong. These troops are strong. And I guess, like, I like Mephiston. I think the Chapter Master on the bike is fine. I'd prefer him to be a more survivable one, but I guess that's the way that different people play stuff. And Dante, I think, is fine. I'm convinced that after I ran Dante this week, I'm probably just going to start running a Chapter Master with Master of the Codex. It was so good for me last week. And I think at one point I had my Chapter Master in the middle of the board, and I think he would have, if it was Dante, he would have been dead because he's the Chapter Master with rerolls and armor and Indomitus and more wounds and more toughness. He survived. So, like I said, it maybe is just a crutch that I play really survivable characters so I can put them in places that are going to score me points and are going to surprise the opponent and how difficult they are to kill. That must be maybe something that I do. But yeah, no, overall, I actually like this list a lot. I don't know what I would change. I guess, obviously, you could run Astaroth to have more turn 1 punch for the Death Company, or probably if you are going to do a Forlorn Fury, you are going to have to pay 2 CP for getting them an Assault Doctrine as well. 5 CP. I mean, it's doable. You're kind of limited on CP after that, but I think overall this is fine. And yeah, I do wonder if a few Infernal Pistols per Sanguinary Guard squad might be an interesting choice now with the drops of points to Sanguinary Guard, because Sanguinary Guard are typically going to survive a little bit, right, to be able to at least shoot their pistols a couple of times. Good evening, Cybele. How you doing? Yeah, exactly. Dante will fail for you if you try and use them in a Bite Chapter Master. So it's just it's a style thing of play, I guess. See, so this list, the only survivable character you have is Mephiston, and I don't know if Mephiston's that survivable, really. Like, on paper, he feels like he should be survivable, right? With toughness 5 and 6 wounds and a 2-up and a 5-up shrug. But typically, Mephiston never seems to survive all that well. Maybe if he's in cover, maybe if you transhuman him, but I'm not a huge fan of transhumaning on Mephiston because he's already got that additional toughness, so sometimes it feels a little bit wasted. Yeah. Okay, alright. This is decent though. I don't know what I would change in this at the moment. Possibly nothing. I think it's just a choice of I would rather my characters to survive more. Because I mean I really like characters that can angel sacrifice and still be alive. I think that's hugely important sometimes with Blood Angels. I've lost count of like how many games or how many times that's saved like squads of guys or dreadnoughts or anything. So that I prefer that. But this is fine. We've got a lot of speed. And we've got a lot of threat here, so I guess the list that I just ran this week as well isn't too far
the
here from
dirty
this at all. Sorry.
Wizard donated £8.99 via Super Chat. Eliminators are on offer for £24.66 on Zatu Games, so here's something towards your next box. Keep up the good work, buddy. Thumbs up.
Dirty Wizard, you superstar, man. That just made me smile. Okay. Man, I get so many I've got so many models I need to get. I actually need to get no more primer as well. So it's a good excuse to get some more primer. I also read like a horror Cyborg, thank you as well for becoming a member. I really do appreciate it. I read a horror story. I don't know if it's a horror story. I read it. Maybe it's not a horror story. I watched a YouTube video of somebody saying that see these pots of washes, right? So this is like one of the, I think it says on it it's 24 mils. Yeah, I mean it's tiny. I don't know if you guys will ever be able to read that, but these are 24 mils, right? And this is just a pot of Nuln Oil. Apparently they've changed the recipe for the washes. So they're now coming in 18 mil pots. They're a little bit, I think they may be the same price, but apparently they're using contrast, some of the tech from contrast paint in your washes now. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but I saw on YouTube that basically, if you want your washes to be the same, you need to go and find the old bottles now, because the new bottles are using contrast paint, and apparently they don't go on the same as the old washes. So I was planning on going to the store at the end of the month, Dirty Wizard, so maybe I'll get some eliminators, but I was also going to go to my local store and see if I can get some of the old 24mm washes of the colours that I use, like Reichland Flesh Shade, Nuln Oil, Agrax Earth Shade, before you can't get them anymore and you can just get these new contrast washes. I hate it when they change stuff. My army needs to be the same as it's always been. Highland Phoenix says you could run Galen Staff or run the Librarius. Yes, of course I could, and I ran that Librarian to. Did I run that Librarian to 2 different GTs? I think I did, Highland Phoenix. And I think I did 4 and 1 in both of them with the firstborn librarian with the jump pack. But ever since they took Mephiston down to 140 points, like I said, I prefer characters that can survive. So I guess Mephiston fits that more than the firstborn librarian. That firstborn librarian died for me all the time. Yes, Null Zone is good. Yes, Might of Heroes is good. I guess to a lesser extent, Psychic Fortress is good. But if I can have Mephiston jump like, I don't know, 25 inches across the board and Angel Sacrifice and save a squad of Sangre Guard, I think that's a lot better. Exo is saying washes have been reformulated. They flow more into the recesses and they taint less. The surface they're applied to, 18 milliliters at the same price as the old 24 millimeter pot. That's what I read, Exo, but I don't like change typically. So I'm going to get some of the old 24 millimeter washes if I can. I don't want new washes that work differently from the ones that already have. Yeah, so because it's great that they run into recesses more, but what if you use the washes in a different way? Like, what if you like to put them on metal to give them a darker feel or something? Yeah, I don't want my washes to be changed, so I'm gonna have to go and buy 2 or 3 more bottles of wash next weekend, I think. All right, we've got a rapid fire stream or slow pace one. Okay, not sure what you mean by that, but thanks for the list, Isaac. We're going to start with the captain on a bike, the Chapter Master, Thunderhammer, Infernal Pistol, and he's running Angel's Artifice, so that's making him toughness 6 and giving him 7 wounds. We've got Chaplain on a bike, Litany of Faith, so we've got Protection Against Mortals, Gift of Foresight, Artisan of War, Adamantium Mantle, and Armor Indominus, right? So he's gone hardcore in both characters, making them as tough as they can be. I might have even... Yeah, I suppose you can. I was going to say I might have even gone further, but I suppose you can't because of the CP rules. Again, Assault Intercessors and 2 squads of Incursors. If you're not running Assault Intercessors and 2 squads of Incursors, it seems like that's what you should run because that's what literally 95% of lists seem to come in. I'll mail you my extra Null and Oil from Canada if you're desperate, says Stephen. I'm sure my local store is going to have it, and if not, I'm going to search Element Games. I'll search Zatoon Games. We'll definitely go for that. We've got 2 squads of Death Company, 4 hammers in each. So that'd be 1 guy with a chainsword. We've got a Sanguinary Ancient with Wrath of Baal and Rites of War, which is super. We see that everywhere. We get 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard with 7 swords. We get the 2 assault squads now with a power sword, infernal pistols, and 2 plasmas and a bunch of chainswords. And then we've got the heavy support. We've got an E in here. Heavy, I guess, support. 2 squads of eliminators with las fusils. eBay will have the old washes as well. Yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah, so I'll be able to get some. Don't worry about mailing me anything. I do appreciate it. But if you guys didn't realize that they're changing the washes, I just caught a random video on YouTube that told me they're changing the washes, and I was like, I don't want my washes changed. And I guess what Travis is saying, a bunch of people will have gone and bought up all the washes because they don't want their washes changed either. Good evening, Steel Rain. How you doing? Okay, so again, we're seeing sort of 3 Sanguinary Guard, 2 Death Company in the Sanguinary Ancient. This is becoming very, very common. My daughter's up. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. Most recent list I've written has 2 assault squads in it. Felt good with 3 plasma pistols, lightning claw in each. Only 5 man for points though, rather than 6. Seems good for points. I mean, when you run them with a 5, you can still perform actions pretty reliably. You know, like retrieve Nakman data. When you roll, you need to roll a d6 and it needs to be less than a 6 to get the 4 points. Feels pretty reliable, right? When's your next game? Wednesday night this week, Mike, and it'll be against Abaddon and Chaos Knights. And I guess because we're against Abaddon, I never get to fight Abaddon. I guess we'll bring Dante. I'm probably going to suicide Dante into Abaddon at some point, or we'll see. Abaddon's apparently very scary this edition. But yeah, what can we say about this one? 2 Death Company, 3 Sanguinary Guard, the Ancient with Wrath. A lot of people are running the Ancient with Wrath of Baal and Rites of War. I think it's a really good choice. This is the more survivable chaplain that we have seen, and this chaplain is bringing the protection against mortal wounds. Surprisingly, there's not many people running the Sanguinary Priest anymore, because I've recently been running the Sanguinary Priest, but we're not really seeing Sanguinary Priest. The one thing to say about leaning this heavily on infantry is, and this is maybe one of the reasons I've moved away from this, because I always try and make my lists difficult for the opponent to pick against, right? These sort of lists, while they are good, there is things out there that's going to counter them. By having no fire support, you are map reliant, and no prisoners is going to be a big deal onto this, right? Like, if you think of like Eliminators, that's 12 points. 2 assault squads, that's you up to 32 points. 7 Sanguinary Guard, 32, that would be another 42, so 72 points. The 2 Death Companies, 92 points. The 2 Incurser Squads, 112 points. The Assault Intercessors, 122 points. So a list like this is giving up 14 points for no prisoners. That's a lot of points to give up. You know, if someone's coming up against you and they say, how many points can I get from no prisoners? And you say 14. They're like, well, I'll probably take no prisoners, because even if I only kill half your army, I'm getting 7 or 8 points. You know? And if I kill 3/4 of your army, I'm getting like 10 or 11 points. So this is one of the reasons that I think maybe going back to a mixed hybrid list might be the best way forward for Blood Angels. It's probably what you're going to see me run over the next couple of months. I think if I was going to run Dante, I'd probably actually run like maybe even a Volcon Contemptor. But if I'm not running Dante, I'm probably running Redemptors. Highland Phoenix says I still run the Priest due to the Elite list, but I feel I don't need Selfless Healer unless I take it from bikes. Yeah, I don't think Selfless Healer is really that valuable anymore. Abaddon Knights. Yeah, Abaddon works on buffing Knights because they're core. Chaos Core. So Abaddon can give all Chaos Core reroll 1s, and I think it's +1 to advance and charge. Is there any way to negate the 3 wound limit on Abaddon? Only if you have a weapon that can negate the limits. And as Blood Angels, we don't have that. I guess the advantage of having a Psyker, though, is you could actually kill him in a single turn, right? You could do 3 more. You could smite him, you could shoot him, and then you could charge him. So you could kill him in a single turn. Difficult, but you could do it. Alright, let's have a look at James next. A Catan negates Abaddon. Yeah, sure. Okay. Does the Nightbringer not have a weapon that can ignore those wounds or something? Am I wrong, or is it just like a Tau that have weapons that can ignore those wounds? Having the chalice is the most important thing from the priest. I tend to agree with you, Reziel. So the Nightbringer could actually be good against Abaddon. Yeah. Yes, the Nightbringer can kill him in a single phase as well. Okay, but I mean, the Nightbringer could also do a bunch of mortals to him with his Catan powers as well. So something like a Nightbringer. How many points is Abaddon actually? I don't actually know. But I know the Nightbringer, he was like 350, but did he get... Did the Necrons... Did the Nightbringers get... Sorry, did the Catan get their points taken down a little bit? Nightbringer flat murders any Blood Angels character. Any. Yeah, I mean, that one of the reasons I always include the Whirlwind is for units like the Nightbringer, where it's like, they're going to charge you, they're going to kill you, so you at least need to make sure that you do those 3 wounds to them, you know, within those phases, so that you can at least start to whittle them down, right? And it's probably why I'm scared of dropping the Whirlwind, because I guess used right, it can get you some great value. Okay. James says, hey John, been testing this list for Nephilim, running Relentless Assault behind enemy lines, Fury of the Lost, Blade of Sanguinius. Fury is one of the few secondaries I have been able to guarantee 15 points per game, likely before then 4. 50 points a game likely before then 4? Oh, before turn 4, I think is what he means. Okay. So this is going to be a Death Company face list, starting on 4 CP. We've got Death Company Captain in Gravis Armor. Holy shit. When the fuck did we ever see Death Company Captain in Gravis Armor? He's got the Master Crafted Weapon, Power Sword, Hero of the Chapter, Imperium Sword. I'm guessing he's Master Crafted his Bolt Storm Gauntlet in Melee. I'm sure I made a video on this now. It's ringing some bells. But we don't often... Like, I think this might be the first time we've seen this Gravis Captain. Captain in Gravis? Where is he? So you would Mastercraft the Bolt Storm Melee Gauntlet, which gives you essentially gives you a Thunderhammer of old. -3 damage. He's got 5 attacks. He's gone into the Death Company, so he's got 6 attacks. He's got Imperium Sword, so you get 7 attacks. So when you charge, you get 8 attacks. So you get 8 attacks with your Bolt Storm Gauntlet, which is basically -3 damage. You do only hit on 3s because you're -1 to hit. But I suppose you could call your Death Vision to make it that you would reroll all your hits. And then you've got the Power Sword, so you also get to make an additional 2 attacks with your Power Sword. So you get 8 attacks with your Bolt Storm Gauntlet in melee, and then you get 2 attacks with your Power Sword. So essentially you get 10 attacks. It's a pretty cool character, and obviously that can be buffed as well by Death Vision. What's the one called? On a Bridge of Eventual Spirit. We've got Lamartes, which we also literally never see. This is cool. It's nice to get some lists that change things up. So this is a list that we think is strong, but it's different from all the other lists we've seen. He's got Mantra of Strength on Lamartes to give him the 3 damage weapon, and Canticle of Hate, obviously, is this other one. Lamarte's auras only affect Death Company, so we've got 2 squads of Incursors and a squad of Infiltrators. I assume the Infiltrators are going to hold the backfield. We then have a Death Company Dreadnought with a pair of Furioso Fists, a pair of Heavy Flamers. We have Death Company Marines, 5 with Thunderhammers. We have 10 Death Company Marines, 4 hammers, all chainswords. We then have another 10 Death Company Marines, all Thunderhammers, Plasma Pistols, and Power Swords. I think you would be a lot better off with Infernal Pistols over these guys. We then have 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, Stormbolters, Onslaughts, and then we have a Whirlwind. So this is a cool list. I guess he's gone very hard into... Hey James, thanks for tuning in. He's gone very hard into Death Company. So he's going to Fury of the Lost 100%. He's going to Blade of Sanguinius. I guess you kind of have to Blade of Sanguinius with the Death Company Captain and Gravis. I just wonder if you would be better having a Death Company Captain on a bike. Like, what does the Gravis guy give you over the one on the bike? Because the Gravis Captain is Toughness 5, 6 wounds, 5-inch move. And a Captain on a bike is Toughness 5, so you lose a wound, but you get 9 more inches of movement. And you're essentially... Yeah, the Captain on the bike is 15 points less, but you would need to give him like a Thunder Hammer or something, and then you would give him the Hammer of Baal Relic. So you would be 5 points actually more expensive for the Captain on the bike by the time he joins the Death Company. If you give him a Thunder Hammer, I suppose you could give him a Power Fist, and then Mastercraft it. That would be cheaper, right? How much is a Power Fist on a 10 points? Yeah, so you could have a captain on a bike with a Power Fist would be 110. You'd have 1 less wound, but you'd have 9 more inches of movement, and you could do the same. I suppose you'd be 5 points cheaper. You would lose your 2 attacks that you're getting with your Power Sword potentially from your Gravis fighting styles. But I think if you're gonna Blade of Sanguinius, surely you want him to be as fast as he possibly can be, right? I think Gleaming Pinions would work on a Smash Captain, so I can fall back and smash. And you know what? Gleaming Pinions, I very rarely, if ever, have taken. What am I missing? What makes the Gravis Captain just that much better than like a Captain on a bike with a Power Fist and a Mastercrafted Power Fist? So with Fury of the Lost, if you kill 3 things in 3 different turns and lose 3 Death Company units in 3 different turns, that's a clean 12, correct? Yes, it'd be very easy with this many Death Company units. Because you've got 5 Death Company units. I suppose it'd be very easy to hit 15 points here from Death Company. And you know what? And Lamartez is Death Company as well. I forget that. He's one of the few named characters that actually has he's actually in the Death Company. Like Astaroth, for example, is actually better for buffing Death Company because he makes it that they can't fail leadership. But Astaroth doesn't have the Death Company keyword. Like, he's not in the Death Company where Lamartez is. So, and Lamartez's weapon is still decent. Like, it's strength 7. It can be 3 damage with Mantra of Strength. So yeah, actually, yeah. So your Fury of the Lost, you're maxing that very easily. Relentless Assault behind enemy lines, you're probably getting like plenty of points from that anyway. Use Plasma so you can pop +1 to hit from Death Strike. I mean, I don't know if 6 Plasma Pistols to me, even with +1 to hit, sounds that attractive. I would probably put like 3 Infernal Pistols in this squad and 3 Infernal Pistols in the squad. Hoping that like you just get 1 or 2 times when you get a chance to attack with them. The other thing I guess about making it a bike captain as well is surely the bike captain is going to be able to catch up or keep up with the Death Company to give them a bunch of rerolls. Where the Gravis captain, obviously, he's moving 5, he's not keeping up with shit basically. Sometimes use Lamartez, okay. If you're running 5. If you're running Death Company units over 5, you need Astaroth. Yeah, I mean, Astaroth is going to give you more value because of the leadership tests. I feel. I know Lamartez lets you, like... What is it? It used to give you +1 to the leadership or something. Where is it? They can use Lamartez's leadership. Alright, so the Death Company go to leadership 9 if they're within 6 of Lamartez, which is fine. I mean, it's not horrible, right? I mean, leadership 9 is better leadership than Sanguinary Guard at that point. I guess you're keeping the points cost down and you're giving yourself another potential death from above. Sorry, no. You're giving yourself a second, another Death Company unit that can die. Yeah, I mean, if you took Astaroth, he would even do better at Blade of Sanguinius as well, just because his weapon is more AP and more damage. So with Mantra of Strength, it's just very strong. You'd have like 7 attacks on the charge, and you'd have Strength 7 and 4 damage. The reroll charges have been worth having Lamartez. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Lamartez used to... I still remember the old days where Lamartez used to let you reroll all your hits with the Death Company. Sad that he doesn't do that anymore, but I guess you can always restore Litany of Hate. But yeah, rerolling the charges for the Death Company as well. It's nice to see a different list. So I guess this list has been designed to score Fury of the Lost, Behind Enemy Lines, and hopefully Blade. And then there's still some stuff that can sit around on objectives. The Whirlwind can hold the backfield, a couple of Redemptors can hold the middle, Incursors can hold side objectives. I'm not sure what are you using the Infiltrators for. I feel like the Infiltrators are wasted points in this list. I don't know what you're using them for, but and then I obviously don't like plasma pistols. We've been over that. I think Infernal. I think six plasma pistols or whatever you've got there, six of them. Over the course of a game, you're likely to get like a couple of damage here. Whereas like one Infernal pistol could probably do the same. So that's why I would just pepper Infernal pistols across all these different death companies. I think that would be better. Lamartus can use death visions, correct? Because he's in the death company. The whirlwind and infiltrators hold the backfield. Do you think you need infiltrators as well as a whirlwind? If you're smart, dude, like a whirlwind. I wonder if I have a screenshot of my. Hold on a second. I put some. Yeah, like cool. I do have a picture. Can we look at this picture for a game, right? So obviously this isn't quite the full map, but like, let me get like a thick brush. Don't judge me at how bad I am at paint. Where is it, right? So like, in this game, my deployment zone was this. Sorry, it was this, right? So all I held the backfield was with the whirlwind. Now, if you think the whirlwind is here, and let's say this is 9 inches, right? Then like 9 inches to here, and 9 inches to here, and also like assume that like, you know, the map is. This isn't quite the edge of the table. You can see up here that there's still a bit. So assume I would have placed. The main thing is when they put the whirlwind on this objective at the back here, I'm just making sure like he's 9 from this board edge, he's 9 from this board edge, right? So if you had a squad of incursors as well, with infiltrators you can do this as well. But if you had a squad of incursors and you went like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you then draw out your 9, like why do you feel like you need 12? For the denial. I mean, yeah, I've been in a few tournaments now where like I typically have like my one squad of incursors maybe start in the backfield with the whirlwind. They maybe do Nakman data with the whirlwind, and then they redeploy further up and they come in and do some combat. Is Lamartus eligible to be the warlord since he's Death Company? I think so because he's a named character. I think it would just be your upgraded versions that wouldn't be allowed to be. I like not to worry about people getting sneaky with Rod. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I do feel like my experience tells me with a whirlwind and 1 5-man unit, with good placement, you can still make that very difficult for them to deploy. Like that, you can cover like a lot of your board out with. Because the thing about a 5-man unit is you can daisy chain them, right? You don't have to worry about coherency. It's just 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. So if you assume each model, like a 32mm base, like what an incursor would be on, is like 1.5 inches. So like 1.5 times 5 plus 2 times 5, you're basically talking like 14.5 inches in a straight line. So if you think your whirlwind's in the corner, 9 inches around it is all safe, then you can make a 14-inch line, and everything with 9 from that is also safe. I just think you could potentially you can save the 15 points. I guess with infiltrators you do make the backfield super safe, which might be worth it, I guess. And I guess you prevent any deep strike charging, I guess, which is that's the one thing, I guess. You're paying 15 points to prevent any deep strike charging because they have to come in more than 12 inches away, even if they roll you can't declare a charge target if they're more than 12 inches away, right? So I guess I feel like I've not really needed that, James, but I guess that's a point. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about the Helix Gauntlet. Mike's saying he's taking the Helix Gauntlet on them, but if they're unchargeable, yeah, I don't think you need the Helix Gauntlet. Do you know what? I have two You play less a lot of Zephyrin, fair enough. I have two squads of infiltrators, but I just haven't been found much use of them. If this was me, I think what I might do is lose the Death Company Dreadnought. I don't think it provides much value. I think it's too, like, well, one, I don't like the Captain in Gravis. I think he's too slow, and I think we often talk about speed being important. So I think I would prefer him if he was on a bike. The other thing you could do, which is on a bike as well, is you can advance him, and then if they decide to shoot him, you can make a -1 to hit, right? Because I forget what it's called, skillful riders. So you could just advance him, give him the 20-inch move, make sure he's near your Death Company, giving them the rerolls. I think there's value in that. I don't love the Death Company Dreadnought. I've got two of these myself. I think you might be better running some Sandguard, because I just think Sandguard are brilliant at the moment. A 6-man squad, you're only like, what, 45 points away? You can literally drop like one Death Company out of two of these units. Drop a couple of these plasma pistols there, you've got a 6-man Sandguard. I think it just gives you more threat. And I think you're probably already scoring really well in Fury Lost anyway. So you really need the Death Company Dreadnought. If you're making a slow list, somehow that Gravis Captain would work. Yeah, I mean, I fail to see how this is slow, though, when you've got 3 giant squads of Death Company, all with jump packs. So, because of that, the Gravis Captain doesn't work for me. Unless you're reserving them. Seven power level, is there anything else you could reserve with him? Not really, unfortunately. But do you know what? It's nice to see a Death Company based list. I think this is one of the first Death Company lists we've probably looked at that actually seems quite competitive. Most of the Death Company lists we look at are kind of a joke, or people have made them for just fun. Reserve them and get rerolls from Imperial Sword. Yeah, I don't see any other way you get them across the board. So if you're not going to reserve them, then I think you take the Captain on the bike. And I really dislike the Death Company Dreadnought. It's sad. Death Company Dreadnoughts used to be so good when they used to get, what was it? Magna Grapple? Remember when Magna Grapple just gave you +2 against charge on vehicles? It was so good, because it just meant that you could reserve your Death Company Dreadnought and you get a 6-inch charge on any enemy vehicle from Deep Strike, which was just brilliant. And or well, you would charge from the normal 9 inches away, but you would get +3 because you get 1 from being Blood Angel and you get 2 from the Magna Grapple. I've always disliked the changes to Magna Grapple. Is there anything else to say about this? I mean, if you're gonna go hard into the Death Company stratagem or strategy, I think this seems decent. I don't have enough Death Company models. Do you know what? I probably actually do have enough Death Company models. I just don't have 12 with Thunderhammers to try this. But it seems a shame to not have any Sangry Guard when, like, we talk a lot about how they're potentially our best unit, and the heroic interventions that they can do and stuff are really, actually really, really strong. But overall, I think it's decent. I think it could do well. I just think that, like, for me, I really like the idea of having the Captain on the bike. If you're gonna Forlorn Fury one of these squads, the bike can auto advance to keep up. You can daisy chain one guy back, and then you're going to re-roll your ones, which I think is going to be valuable. Because the one thing that you're missing is, like, Chapter Master re-rolls, right? And I guess you're missing a way to get something in Assault Doctrine as well. I really hate that, like, our Assault Doctrine strat is essentially 2 CP and Space Wolves get 1 for 1 CP. I just like that, man. I kit bash Voidsman this week, says Rizio. I'm working on a kit bash for Voidsman, actually. I don't know when I'll have them, but I haven't decided if I'm actually using them. I've just been kit bashing them. Okay. Let's move on. Let's check out another list. James, you got any questions you want to ask before we move on here? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like personally, I'm probably never going to run a character that can only move 5 inches. I just think it's too slow, man. Or it doesn't fit my style. Alright, Arclight. Hey, Commander, thanks for the review, and hopefully family has fended off COVID. Yeah, we're all past COVID, man. Thanks for asking, though. This is a new list that focuses on Fury of the Lost. Alright, cool. So a second Death Company list in a row. Giving the Death Company characters, assuming they would need to slay the Warlord most games and have enough action lackeys through troops. 2 assaults for retrieving active data. Game plan is to throw the Death Company across in 2 waves and have the Sanguinary Guard mop up the remainder, tying up the opponent for further up the board as in cursors cap points. Feeling a bit lacking in 3 damage weapons and firepower, is wondering on the maths about having an additional Thunderhammer or additional Death Company Marine. Thanks. Alright, cool. Yeah, see, so I'm thinking about starting on 2 or 3 CP Highland Phoenix, but I think, well, I'm going to be starting with, I'm taking the Sanguinary Priest, because I think if you only have 2 or 3 CP, I know a couple of lists we've looked at have 4, but spending 2 for Assault Doctrine feels expensive. How about an Army of Renown for all Death Company? I mean, I'd love if they did some sort of Blood Angels Army of Renown based on, I guess, like almost like Devastation of Baal slash, bringing Primaris in post Devastation of Baal. Who knows? There was those rumors a few weeks ago about Blood Angels are getting a new, are going to get something. I guess we'll have to wait and see, man. It's there's so many factions now in this game. It takes a long time for units to filter out to all the factions, doesn't it? Okay, so this should be a second Death Company style list. We've got 5 CP, 2,000 points. We're taking Astaroth, and we've got Canticle of Hate and the Mortal Wound Protection. We've got Mephiston. We haven't actually seen, I don't think we've seen Mephiston and Astaroth in the same list. Okay, we've got Unleash Rage, Blood Boil Wings. Cool. And then we've got Dante, Heroic Bayring, Dax Mortalis, obviously, and he is the Warlord. I was trying to think. So out of the 3 of them, the only CP we've spent is on Dante's Warlord trait. We then have our standard Assault Intercessors / 2 Incursors. We've got Death Company with 4 hammers, 2 chainswords. We've got Death Company with 2 hammers, 5 chainswords. I think that's a mistake. I think you probably... Is it a mistake? We've got another Death Company with 2 hammers and 5 chainswords. Yeah, probably. Like, I don't think you want less than 3 hammers in these squads. I think 2 hammers... There's too much risk of, like, you fluffing it, because hammers are -1 to hit. So if you only have 2 hammers, you potentially have as little as 8 hits. If you only hit on 4s, with a bad roll, you only end up with, like, a couple of hits. I don't like 6-man Death Company, just to add another comment. Yeah, I mean, I think... Well, you'd probably have to drop one anyway. Oh, these are 7-man, sorry. I don't think you ever want 2 hammers. I've tried 2 hammers myself. It doesn't work. We then have the Sanguinary Ancient with Wrath of Baal. No Rights of War here, just Wrath of Baal. That's the CP spend. 7 Sanguinary Guardal Swords, 7 more Sanguinary Guardal Swords, and 2 Assault Squad Marines. Assault Squad Marines? Assault Squads. Just 2 Assault Squads, sorry. Okay, again, thinking about no prisoners, this list is giving a shitload of points for no prisoners, right? That's like 20, 34, 48, two more sevens, 48, 62, 78, another 6, 78 plus 6, 90. Yeah, so again, this list is giving out 14 points for no prisoners. I don't like that at all. The characters are fine. The warlord traits and the Wrath of Baal is good. The action monkeys are good. A couple of Sanguinary Guard and Ancient. 3 Death Company. I mean, you could. I guess the 3 Death Company means he's leaning into Fury of the Lost. Astaroth obviously makes them that they can't fail morale, which is nice. I prefer the last list because the last list has a couple of Redemptors in there, and that's 400 points. 2 Redemptors is the best part of 400 points, and by doing that, you're dropping the potential of no prisoners from like 14 points down to like 10. So now the opponent knows even if they wipe out most of your army, they're only maybe getting 10 points. Secondary, where you have to kill the entire enemy's army for 10 points, doesn't feel that good. Good point with this list has 4 characters. Again, 4 characters is risky. There's quite a lot of points to spend on characters. Like, when it was just these 3, I'm thinking like, okay, 280 plus 165. There's like 445, but then you include this, you're up to like 555 points on characters. At the moment, I'm spending like 430 points on my 3 characters. Is that right? 400? No, I'm spending 425. And that's like. I really don't want to be spending more. I think I was running a list before where I was spending a little bit less, like 415. But I think. Like, you really don't want to be spending much more than 400 points on characters. And I don't like giving up so many points for no prisoners. The assault squads, I think, can get some cheaper weapon options in here for free. Some people have been talking about it in the stream and other streams, how you can get like, you can definitely get some things in here for free. What's your max for no prisoners? I just think that you never want a secondary where like you never want a secondary to be picked against you that can like easily guarantee like close to maximum points. Like if you're running a like, you know, if I go up against an orc buggy list, or when I went up against those orc buggy lists, and it's just like shitloads of orc buggies, and I know that every time I kill a few buggies, it's 2 points, and there's 15 of the buggies, and I'm like, well, I just kill half of them, and I'll instantly max the secondary. I have to kill the buggies anyway. So like, when people are doing secondaries, if they have to do the thing anyway, so it's like, alright, well, I have to kill the Blood Angels anyway, but if I kill all their army, then I know I'm getting 15 victory points. It just feels like you're just not making much of a challenge for your opponent. You know, like, that's why, like, I can't remember the last time someone picked Assassinate against me, because I run 3 characters. You know, I think somebody did pick it, and they got 7 points from it. And I was actually stupid. At the end of the game, I could have actually hidden one of my characters and they would have just got 3 points, but I was like trying to challenge. In that game, I was so far ahead it didn't matter. But I could have actually just hidden one of my characters, like, because all my characters are really fast, right? So I could have just advanced 20 inches away and been like, there's no chance you can kill this character. You picked Assassinate against me, you got 3 points. So yeah, that's kind of my logic behind some of my army creation. And that is the big weakness I'm seeing in this big huge blob of of infantry, I guess, where like Blood Angels feel infantry are very, very good. Well, all our dreadnoughts got better. We just haven't seen people playing them. And 6 months ago, 9 months ago, the only people that were getting to like good tournament results with Blood Angels were including, you know, I actually saw Chris Chance posted a list today. Like, Chris Chance is one of the players that was at that like giant tournament this weekend in America. He went 5-1 with Blood Angels. You go back 6 months, 9 months when I had him on the channel, and his list was like 2 Contemptors and a Redemptor, or it was 2 Redemptors and a Contemptor, but it had 3 Dreads in it, right? And Dreads got, Dreads got bonuses from Armor of Contempt, just like everything else got bonuses. So, I'm sure you could argue that, like, Blood Angels with Dreadnoughts in the list is actually still really strong. I just think the Dreadnoughts have probably been overshadowed by like Sanguinary Guard and Death Company. And while that's fine, I think Sanguinary Guard and Death Company are great. I run both of them. I don't think I want to give up 14 points per game on no prisoners. I'm just not gonna run it. Because I think it's just too easy a choice for opponents. You can recommend 3 Plasma Pistols and Lightning Claw in the Assault Squads for free. Dreads are good if you have 3, but you have to build a list around it. I don't think so, David. I've done, I ran a list where I ran 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts into, like, I think, if I am correct, the world number 4 player last season, and I beat him with a double Redemptor list. And that was when Blood Angels were really not competitive as well. But double Redemptor used fine. I don't think you have to have 3 Dreadnoughts. Try being in Necrons and avoiding no prisoners. Sometimes... The thing about Blood Angels, though, is I think we can still be strong and avoid no prisoners. I guess we'll see. I played double Redemptor last week. I didn't play anything around... I didn't play anything else to buff the Redemptors or anything like that. I just played double Redemptor. It worked really well. I mean, I won the game against Khorne really convincingly. I think I do prefer, like, Leviathans and what's the other ones? Relic Contemptors. But obviously they cost CP, so it depends on how valuable you rate CP. And Redemptors, I was just at a tournament just a month ago now, and the guy that won the tournament ran a double Redemptor list. He didn't have Tech Marines or anything to buff them. He had maybe a chaplain that could give one of them +1 to hit or something, but nothing major. Alright, Gitley posted a list in Discord. Perfect, Gitley. I'll add it for the next week's show and we can talk about it. If you can... we'll talk about it on the next show. Leviathan with double Are you saying a Leviathan? So, like, 3 Dreadnoughts is your most successful list this year? I suppose with no prisoners to assassinate, if your opponent is scoring highly, you're likely losing. Could always hide your characters. Yeah, I mean, with Blood Angels, that's one thing we can do with assassinate, is we can hide our characters, but because we can just run in advance 14 inches out of way. Alright, this is the last list for today. We're going to get Gitley's list, and a few other people have submitted lists in the last day or two. You guys will be in the next Army List show. I guess we're doing about 6 lists every week now. And we're just bashing through them and try and pick up on trends and try and make some suggestions on all of them. Okay, the Plastic Leviathan coming with 1 of each ranged weapon. Would you go for Grab Flux and Storm Cannon? Storm Cannon doesn't seem great. No, Storm Cannon is terrible now. It used to be really good. Now it's literally terrible. It's terrible into most armies. It's absolutely terrible into Armor of Contempt. Gravflux is a good weapon. I think the Gravflux cannon is better than the plasma that the Redemptors have because it's more reliable for the number of shots. So ideally, I think with a Leviathan Dreadnought, you want 1 shooting arm, 1 close combat arm. Most of the lists that you're thinking of submitting is... I think it's hard at the moment brewing biscuits. People are still finding their feet. And I'm interested to see if anyone else thinks Master of the Codex might be an interesting choice. Because I was decidedly impressed with it this week. Unfortunately, that's not an option. I was going to say, what is the other option for the other weapon arm then, Jacob? Because the Storm Cannon isn't in a great place in 40k. It's like it's got like no AP now into Armor of Contempt. Do you know what It's funny. It's funny how things go, because I remember a game against Iron Hands at the start of 8th edition or something, right? Where like the Leviathan Dreadnought, the Storm Cannon used to be heavy 10, it used to be -2 and 2 damage, and it didn't used to cost any more points. So I remember a Iron Hands Dreadnought basically going heavy 20, re-rolling ones because they're Iron Hands and they get a re-roll when it's heavy, or they're an Assault Doctrine, Devastator Doctrine, and then they get an additional AP. So I remember like 20 shots, and they were -3, so my Sanguinary Guard were saving on 5s against Storm Cannons. Now, like, my Sanguinary Guard will save on 2s against Storm Cannons, and if it's turn 1, it'll be 3s. I mean, what a change. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Melta-Lance is maybe the only other option. It sucks how expensive it is. Dual Storm Cannon and Leviathan. Yeah, it used to be Iron Hands would run like 2 of them. Maybe what you need to do is buy the melee Leviathan and the ranged Leviathan, and make yourself one of each. It's weird with I haven't been following the new plastic kits all that much, Jacob, because I already own a Leviathan with like a load of different weapon options, and I own 2 Relic Contemptors with a load of different weapon options. So, and obviously back then you just had if you wanted a weapon, you just bought it. Going Master of the Codex would be nice to sneak in an Inquisitor, so you could double down on out CPing your opponent. The only issue I have with sneaking in an Inquisitor is then you go into 4 characters, Silent Phoenix, and you guys know how I feel about that. Alright, Mateo's list. Thanks in advance for the review. He's going for a relentless slot behind enemy lines. Yes. Forlorn Fury and Guerrilla Tactics all will help with that. He's going for Incursors for and a Deep Strike Assault Squad for the 4th quadrant for retrieving admin data. He's going to Bore the Witcher, he's going to Blade of Sanguinius, or he's going to Assassinate. It depends on the opponent's army list. Excuse me, he's a Sanguinary Priest. I really dislike this guy. He can't fight well, feel no pain, mostly irrelevant, and selflessly useless, but I really need him in the first turn for Forlorn Fury. To being able to show kill anything, so I've made him really cheap. Yeah, this is pretty much you pretty much summed up how I feel about him. I dislike him in that he's got a 30-point jump pack, which is ridiculous. 6+ feel no pain isn't good. The way I've done him is I've given him Rites of War in my list, so at least he can obsec stuff away from the enemies, or he can daisy chain and obsec. Master of the Codex seems like a weak choice to me. I guess it's a swingy choice, Reziel, as in this week it gave me back 5 CP. So, if you're at a tournament and you get 5 CP extra, I mean, that's pretty huge, but obviously some games I'm sure it'll give 0 CP. Redemptor, love it. Near Eliminators for Wisdom of the Ancient to avoid missing with lasers and Quake Bolts. Okay, I mean, that's a cool idea to make sure that you don't miss with your Quake Bolts for sure. Alright, we've got Dante with the Warlord, and we've got the Sanguinary Priest, who's just as cheap as he can be. I mean, I feel like you kind of want to give him the jump pack and maybe like give him Rites of War or something. But I guess by not giving him the jump pack, I found he became irrelevant pretty quickly because you couldn't get him where. I think Rites of War is nice because that gives him a purpose beyond the beginning of the game. Like, he's there for turn 1 and 2 to give you Assault Doctrine, and then he's got no purpose. So by giving him Rites of War and a jump pack, I think it gives him some value. He's not super expensive, but that's fine. I think this is about the 10th list in a row that's gone 2 Incursor squads and 1 Assault Intercessor squad. Yeah, variance doesn't build confidence. I know. It's an interesting one. I guess it's the same as any litany, though, right? Litanies go off on a 3, you get an extra command point on a 4. I mean, there's not a million differences in here. Pyro says, every list has one character is basically useless, but has a purpose. Yeah, of course, you need... I mean, characters are here to buff things, I guess. You've got one Redemptor Dreadnought, then you've got the Ancient with... You've put Rights of War in the Ancient, okay, and the Wrath of Baal to give the additional movement. We've got 3 7-man squads of Sangreguard leaning heavily on swords and Infernal Pistol on a couple of them. We've got the Salt Squad with the 6-man to do Retrieve Nakmund. We've got a couple of Last Fusel Eliminators, and we've got a Land Speeder. Okay. So 3 characters, so that's good. The troop choices are fine. The 4 hammers on the Death Company is good. The 3 squads of Sangreguard is good. So then it comes down to, like, the Quake Bolts and the range from the Last Fusils is good. We already talked about Last Fusils being essentially ranged Thunderhammers. They're pretty good as well, especially because they hit on 2s rather than Thunderhammers that hit on 4s. Multi-Melta Land Speeder is fine. Assault Squad to do data is fine. Again, this list's probably going to give up quite a lot of points from no prisoners. I guess like 40... plus like 21, so 82, 94. It's actually not too bad. You're just giving up like 12 points for no prisoners on Eliminators. So I guess, yeah, by rotating in one Land Speeder and one Redemptor, you give up a couple less points for no prisoners. I'm okay with that compared to giving up 14. I think Rights of War is the way to go in the Sangre Priest right now, as well as providing the 6 Feel No Pain. Yeah. Isn't it cool how Tau have basically the same thing as Master of Codex, but it's on a 2? Yeah. When I played against Tau and they had that Jacob, it felt very obnoxious. But I mean, the way that the Tau player justified it, he was like, "Well, Tau are a CP heavy army," and I'm like, "Well, sure, everybody's CP heavy if you want to look at it like that." And I don't know if getting a CP back on a 2 necessarily feels all that balanced to me, but whatever. Tau aren't being as dominating as they were before, right? Okay, so let me think. Sangre Ancient and 3 squads of guard is good, and Death Company in there as well. I mean, I can't argue with it. I prefer to go double Dreadnought if you're going to go Dreadnought, but that's just fine. A Land Speeder can potentially help with retrieve behind enemy lines. The Salt Squad can help with behind enemy lines. A couple of squads of Eliminators give some fire support. Dante being the Warlord and then, yeah, I feel like the Priest is just, like, I think you got to give the Priest a jump pack, and you got to give him a Warlord trait that makes him fightable, or give him the Teeth of Terra, and he can at least kill Marines, I guess, right? With the Teeth of Terra, or he can kill 2 wound infantry. I think you want to give the Priest a purpose beyond, like, 90 points to just give you Assault Doctrine for 2 turns is fine, but I think you want to give him some purpose for the end of the game. I think you think litanies are more reliable than psychic powers. I mean, yeah. I guess it really just depends. Teeth of Terror is a strong pick for him to do something. Yeah, I mean, he gets 8 attacks in turn 3 if he charges, and what would it be, like strength 5 minus 3 2 damage? So I mean, it's not bad. It's enough to kill it's enough to wipe a 5-man squad of Marines, or at least do a bunch of damage to them. Maybe make them feel morale. And it keeps them relevant. Otherwise, or the other thing to do would be to lose Rights of War from your banner bearer and move it onto the Priest. And then after turn 1 and 2, you don't care about if the Priest survives, whereas you maybe do care if your banner bearer survives, because you want that extra movement. The Priest could be an angel sacrifice. I suppose, yeah. I suppose he could be. You could give him Armor Indomitus and make him an angel sacrifice, but yeah. Oh, excuse me, I'm tired. I'm going to call the stream in a couple of minutes, but yeah, I think if I was going to put something on that Priest, I'm either moving Rights of War onto him, and he's going to become like my quote-unquote throwaway character I'm going to protect my Sanguine Ancient a little bit better. Or I'm going to give him Teeth of Terra. Gitleys are going to use the Priest for an Angel Sacrifice as well. Yeah, so he needs the jump pack. The Priest 100% needs a jump pack, which means I guess you have to lose one Sanguine Guard to get the 30 points. I don't see any way around it. And you've got the Quake Bolts. So essentially you can get those Death Company buffed all the way up to hitting on 2s with Thunderhammers, which is pretty nice. Priest, the Ancient, and the Quake Bolts. So yeah, another I was going to say another pretty decent Blood Angels list. I do think my experience typically with Dreadnoughts is you run 2 of them or you run none of them. One of them alone never seems to come off. And in doing that, I guess you would have to change something here. I'd probably reserve the Land Speeder. I'd probably actually reserve it along with like the squad of Assault Intercessors that costs you 1 CP. It gives you like one more unit that can potentially come in a board quadrant for Nakmund. Another option for the Priest is Visage of Death. Yeah, I mean, Visage of Death to me feels like a lower value pick than Rites of War. But some people like to run both. We've seen some top players run both. Rezil apparently runs both as well. I think I ran one game where I ran both, and I didn't do very well. And I think it was. I guess there's something to be said about the first time you run something; it's never going to go that amazing. I was looking at Selfless Healer, Rites, and Visage, Priest, Warlord, Assault Doctor, and heal a few guys, steal a primary, then sacrifice. I mean, that's a huge investment for someone you're just going to sacrifice into dying, Steven, so I probably wouldn't do that. I don't know if I'd take the Ancient without Wrath of Baal. Yeah, no, I wouldn't take the Ancient without Wrath of Baal. I think the Wrath of Baal is the best thing the Ancient gives. I do love the Ancient, I just don't have him in my current list. Will you have a look at 3 Eliminator squads with Las Fusils? Possibly. Do a bit of update Math Hammer. I mean, I could do what you want them compared against Dirty Wizard for sure. We can compare them. Will I run 3 Eliminator squads with Las Fusel soonish? Probably not. I'm really tempted to get more Eliminators. I like that they're heavy support and they're not fighting over that elite slot that's so precious to Blood Angels. It's just a case of like, I think I've got 12 Sangre Guard and like 3 Death Company and 10 Intercessors to finish painting completely. I would just, they're battle ready, but I'd like to get them finished. And then I think I'm going to look at, well, there's no point, like I don't need any more Dreadnoughts, because I've got 3 Redemptors, I've got 2 Relic Contemptors, and I've got Leviathan. I don't think any tanks are in a good spot for Blood Angels. So I was thinking it would be Eliminators, or there was one other unit that I was looking at that I thought would be good. Part of me wanted to get 3 more Centurions, but I actually don't like this 5-man blob of Centurions that people have been running. I think it's too slow. I mean, I ran Centurions before anybody else was running Centurions for Blood Angels, but I'm not a big fan of it. What was the other unit that I was thinking that I might try? I think I was going to maybe try Death Company with Power Swords. I felt like that might be pretty good now with the points drops on them. Oh, Relic Terminators, yeah. Yeah, we talked a lot about Relic Terminators, yeah. I would rather run Relic Terminators with than Centurions, for sure. Relic Terminators with like Lightning Claws and Stormbolters. So that's pretty much the list of things I need. Relic Terminators with Lightning Claws and Stormbolters. Death Company with Power Swords, and Eliminators with Las Fusils. I think. But at the moment, I'm just going to finish painting my army, which you're going to see on Wednesday night against Chaos. And I guess Mike will probably run Dante this week, even though I don't. I think I'm going to continue to run my Chapter Master on a bike. I think I'm going to run him with Armor Indomitus, Gift of Foresight, and Master of the Codex. I think that seems fine. But I think I'll run Dante just for 1 week because people will maybe then people will stop badgering me about running Dante. Oh, that was another thing that I've actually got a commission out at the moment as well for an Ironclad Dreadnought. I don't know how I'm going to run the Ironclad Dreadnought, but I did think when I commissioned this, and this was ages ago, I commissioned this Ironclad like 3 months, 4 months or something. I was thinking Might of Heroes on an Ironclad Dreadnought might be really interesting because it makes him toughness 9, which means like enemy Meltifier is only going to wound him on a 5. But I guess we'll. And the Ironclad Dreadnought, like, essentially it would be a distraction Carnifex. But again, maybe to make Ironclad Dreadnoughts work, you would need to run 2 of them. You know, so there's like, just because there's that whole thing when it's just one Dreadnought, they can just pick it off and it doesn't do all that well. Dreadnought Drop Pod, I don't like the cost of Drop Pods for essentially an unreliable charge, I guess. Yeah, okay, so this list, my thought is it might be better with Double Redemptor. It'd definitely be better with the Priest with the jump pack and possibly some sort of equipment to make him better. And yeah, I mean everything else seems fine. I do think like if you've never played a single Dreadnought list and you find in the games that you're playing that your Dreadnoughts are dying quickly, then I think you have to try a double Dreadnought list and just see how that feels. Because typically when you run one Dreadnought, it just feels like that Dreadnought can get isolated and picked off. But when you run 2 of them, the same thing can happen, but then sometimes you can return fire, or sometimes when you would go first, it just feels like you've got more threat and stuff like that. Drop pods have a bunch of advantages. Yeah, I mean, I guess Relentless Assault and Behind the Enemy Lines drop pods have a lot more value now. Highland Seeing doesn't think that the weapon loadout on this assault squad is valid. I haven't really looked at assault squads. Excuse me, I'm not 100% sold on them. No, I think the sergeant can only take a single lightning claw, right? Yeah. 8 Thunderhammers hitting on 2s at 36 inches every turn. Dirty Wizard. It's hard to argue with that for sure. Especially how survivable the Eliminators are in cover as well. Yeah, so yeah, my backlog never ends. Thank you so much to everyone that submitted a list tonight. If you did enjoy tonight's show at any point, please consider hitting that like button. It is very much appreciated. We're going to be back on Wednesday night this week for the game against Chaos plus Abaddon. Dirty Wizard, if you want to hit me up with what you message me on Discord with what you want to see the Eliminators compared against, and we'll see if we can make that video. And if not, then we'll make something else this week. I haven't figured out exactly what video that we're making this week. At least we didn't get our spammer in the chat tonight, right? With his porn links, so that's great. There was a new option on YouTube this week that let me turn, or basically it was like a new automated chat moderation. So hopefully it's sorted it for the future. So hopefully I'll catch some of you guys on Wednesday. And in the meantime, have a great weekend. If you want to submit a list for the next week's show, just drop me a comment on YouTube and we'll add you to the list. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Thanks again. Good night.